Good morning, everybody. I've got Mario with us, and okay, right off the rip, I've got a hard time hack. I've got to be gone by 8
Yep.
o'clock, so we're gonna wrap this up around 7:50. It's gonna be a short show this morning, and I hate to. I feel like I'm doing a disservice to the story. We're gonna talk about the Texas floods now. Over the weekend, Mario and I discussed what we were going to talk about, and then I had a scheduling conflict pop up. We were going to talk about the Texas floods a bit, and then dig into the America Party stuff. So we're going to push America Party to a little bit later.
Yep. Plus, we got the just released that Grok has a non-disclosure agreement with Pfizer. Okay, so the entire AI is basically compromised by big pharma, by weaponized big pharma. So yeah, there's actually quite a bit developing right now. One other thing, since I got be controversial here, I want you to know I finally stopped being a shitbag, and I did watch your exegesis of the conspiracy around the Trump shooting in Butler. Very well done. My only I will say though, I didn't know that you were an Air Force Elanter. Okay. Nerd. Fucking giga nerd. Anyway, well done, sir.
And that's coming from an Army linguist. Nerds.
That's right.
Yeah, I'll tell you something about nerds. We recognize our own.
Well, I can't identify this crystal frequency, guys. Take a look.
There's a guy in the fourth basement level of an NSA facility. He eats 7 saltine crackers with mayonnaise every day and cannot walk down a hallway without dragging one knuckle on the wall while watching his shoes. It takes him 15 minutes to choose a soda from a machine that only has 2 options. He has an IQ of 190,000.
No, I'm picturing be controversial with the telephone book, the one that's like that freaking thick with every possible frequency and metadata selector for every single Soviet radar emitting asset ever. Like, let me find this one.
B says, "Oof! I heard about the NSA folks. Yeah, we heard about them."
Yep. Yes, the Elon Bible. That's right.
Yeah. So, okay.
It.
Well, and that's all the happiness and joy and laughter we have for today, because now we have to talk about dead kids.
Not just dead kids. Like the whole surrounding area is basically ripped. Okay.
Is basically destroyed. Yes.
Yeah. They got 10 inches of rain overnight. All right. Think about that. Like 10 friggin' I mean, I live in Florida. Okay. We get hurricanes where it's not that bad. Okay. That is an extreme amount of water. That is where for hours and hours on end,
in fact, it is this amount of water.
Crashing rains.
I'm gonna cut that background music. So, yeah, over the weekend, 10 to 15 inches of water fell just overnight. You see that shot of the cabin floating down the river. That cabin had young boys in it. That was on the Guadalupe River. Amazingly, those kids, the boys in the cabin, survived apparently, but there were several young girls at a nearby camp who did not make it. Mario, you shared this with me, this post from X, from Caroline Wren. Just heartbreaking. She says, I went to camp for 10 years on the Guadalupe River, just a couple miles down from Camp Mystic. Camp Mystic's the one that really got wiped out. This tragedy is close to home.
Like
since there's tons
buildings
of
lifted up
around.
and moved away.
Yeah. And she mentions that the one of the owners of the camp died in the floods. Several other camp officials from other camps also passed in the floods. Apparently, uh, I'm seeing conflicting reports on the total casualties, but it looks like dead and missing combined, we're looking at around 50 people, many of them young girls from the camp. And there's no other way to say it. I mean, this is a tragedy. Texas River flood kills 24, with dozens more swept away from girls' summer camp as faces of the missing emerge. So not all of these are confirmed deceased, but it says at least 24 people have been killed, and that number does include the adults, the camp counselors.
Yeah. Now it's not 23 children. I believe it's only maybe less than a handful.
It's 10 children. There's at least 10 children lost.
Yeah, that's right. That's
but 23 of the people are from Camp Mystic. So there's Sergeant Major says 86 dead and 11 missing across the whole tragedy. And again, I'm seeing conflicting reports on that, so I can't say that for sure.
I mean, how could you really know for sure? I mean, is everyone going to do roll call? Everyone in a ruined town, like
right?
You're not really going to know. You're going to they'll know when people just stop showing up to the normal things.
And that's the news. Now, we are not a news program. We do news and politics analysis, analytics, and commentary. So reporting the news, there was a flood, and a bunch of people got hurt and died, and a town has been wiped out. That's the news. Here's what I want to talk about, because what we do is analysis and commentary. The reaction, the commentary from the left. What's the first thing you do when a tragedy strikes? Well, if you're a Democrat, you blame somebody. And I'm even gonna, I'm gonna try and be fair and point out when the fires happened in Los Angeles, we jumped on and blamed people. And I'm gonna talk about that a little bit. But in fact, let's go ahead and do that now. So here we've got a flood, right? Let me ask you, Mario.
Yeah.
What do you do when a flash flood hits? Now, because there's a big damn difference between a flood and a flash flood. When you've got a flood, you deploy the National Guard, the Army Corps of Engineers, you throw sandbags, right? You bring in the bulldozers, you shove dirt up in the way, you can deal with it. Flash flood, remember, we're talking about somewhere between 10 and 15 inches overnight. Yeah. There is no jump in front of that and block it. That's not an option.
The river lifted up like 18 feet. So you have to imagine a river where all at once, okay, because Pascal's law, water under pressure exerts evenly all directions, right? So all at once, basically the entire river just starts crashing into the surrounding community. Okay, the reason it's a flash flood is because you don't even know it's happening until you're basically in a foot of water and rapidly rising. Okay, what do you do in a situation like that? Try to get somewhere high, or if there is no cover, well, actually there won't be any cover. If you can't get to higher ground, then you gotta roll with it. Okay, don't try to fight it. You would lay on your back, have your feet straight forward together as a battering ram, essentially, and basically ride the wave. Water is the most powerful force in nature. You cannot defeat it. All right, you have to go with it.
When Helene happened, we had a great big live oak fall down in the yard, right? And the next day I'm out there looking at it. There's a lot of storm damage back on the back of the property where trees are twisted around and broken in half. Where you can clearly see where a tornado touched down on the back of my property. I'm still cleaning up the mess from Helene, but so just a little perspective on the flood, from personal visual experience. I've got a stream right? Forge Creek runs right next to my house. It's the edge of my property over here. And so my property drops off and goes down to it. And, it's a grade down, but the difference in height is probably about 60 feet. Normally, that's a creek that you can walk across, and it's ankle to knee deep at the deepest parts. It's knee deep, right? Right after the flood happened, for several days after Helene, right after the hurricane hit through here, that water was at least 40 feet deep. Right, we're talking about millions of gallons of water basically moved into my backyard overnight and hung around for a few days. And that was less than 10 inches of rainfall overnight in that case. And so to understand why that matters, the force of that water coming through does two things in that situation, coming through the woods like that. So it does a few things. So overflows the banks of the stream, right? Hyper saturates, soaks the ground, weakening the root balls of all the trees. And then the force of the water rushing through is adding force to the trees. The trees didn't give a shit about Category 1 hurricane winds. It was when the ground got wet and the water smacked into them that I got 100 oaks down on the back of the property. Right? That the force of that.
Yeah, nature went sapper mode. Yeah.
So of course the lefties are out here blaming Donald Trump for the lives that were lost, and the running narrative is, oh well, he cut all the funding to NOAA, so there was no weather service there to issue the warnings. Okay, first thing, he didn't cut NOAA away entirely. Didn't cut the National Weather Service. They didn't cut them away entirely. What they cut were 800 new probationary employees who were parts of things like DEI departments and the like, right? And then the second thing there, those cuts don't take place until next year. Those cuts have not happened yet. They are irrelevant. In fact, the AP is reporting. I've got several news articles pulled up here. Let me find this one real quick.
So the big fear in a flash flood like this, okay? If you're a strong swimmer, right, and I am not really concerned with drowning in a situation like this. The fear is basically as you're being swept away, is if you get cut, or like basically you get cut by something under the water that you can't see, all right, by some type of debris, and then you're immediately basically have an open wound in water that is just swimming in all types of coliform bacteria. All right, so that's your big threat there. It's the debris under the water that you can't see that can cut you and injure you.
Yeah, and Alex points out FEMA doesn't have a classification for this. 500-year flood doesn't come close. Yeah, like what I just described over here that happened to us during Helene. This house is way above the 100-year floodplain. So that's the 100-year floodplain is a big deal for like insurance purposes and stuff. We're way above the 100-year floodplain, and the flood here hit that floodplain. It hit about where the floodplain would be. TPS report says, yeah, I don't care if you could swim like Tarzan, this would kill you. Yeah, I'm a very strong swimmer. Mario's a strong swimmer. I went swimming off the coast in Savannah, Georgia during Katrina, and that was stupid. That was powerful, and that's nothing compared to this, right? No, but back to the blame Trump for everything, people. You got the AP, the Associated Press, has reported that the National Weather Service had extra staff on duty in the regions affected by flooding in Texas. Notably, the number of staff members more than doubled in that office, which serves as a significant counterpoint to the Democratic narrative regarding budget cuts impacting emergency response capabilities. This increased staffing highlights the agency's commitment to managing natural disasters effectively and ensures that local communities receive the necessary support during such a crisis. So, let me get down here. I think they have one of these had the timeline. Okay. So there has been a timeline published that shows when the reports went out, but it's like, some 3 or 4 hours before the flooding occurred, the National Weather Service did in fact issue flood warnings. Now, like Alex pointed out a minute ago, even that there is such a thing as extraordinary disasters, right? The National Flood Service can say, "Hey, it's going to flood. This is dangerous. You should evacuate." And you're not looking at half the amount of rainfall that happened here, half the damage that happened here.
Yeah. It's 10 inches of rain. It's in an area that's already flat. You know what I mean? That's the thing.
Right.
It's flat. So the moment that river, the moment the riverbank, like moment it crests, everywhere, all at once. But I did see.
Controversial says, when a whole group of kids camping gets wiped out, I want to blame someone. And yeah, you do. You want to blame someone. But these people are deranged to try to blame Trump for any of this. Yeah, then there's nobody to blame. Right? There is such a thing as an unforeseen circumstance that you just can't do anything about. So, like I started off toward the beginning of the show, we were very critical of like Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass during the LA fires earlier this year. Well, in that case, you did have a perfect storm. You did have an extraordinary circumstance above and beyond, because you had the forest fires break out at a time in the middle of drought with high wind. Right. And so there was a serious problem there that was a confluence of natural events that conspired to exacerbate the problem. But what we were hypercritical of then is that because of California's water system mismanagements, the fire hydrants were dry. They didn't have fire hydrants that they could plug into with a truck and fight fires. The fire departments had their budgets cut dramatically, and those are budget cuts that had occurred previously. The firefighters had already had their staffing reduced by those budget cuts. These were not like the Trump administration cutting DEI fat and trash out of the National Weather Service next year, not currently, hasn't already happened, right? Quite in contrast, when the California wildfires hit, those cuts preceded the failed disaster response and had already had the consequential effect, the significant effect.
Yeah. Well, the Palisade fires was basically layers and layers of human incompetence and institutional failure exacerbating a natural disaster to the fullest extent. Okay. What we have here in Kerrville looks like, I did see some criticism of the camp counselors basically not heeding the warning or just not paying attention. I know, maybe you just weren't paying attention to the news. Okay. And then this happened. So, but I don't know. I don't think they could have even got out of there in time, honestly, even if they had heeded the warning. So it was just so sudden.
So the National Weather Service, they issued the warning like 4 hours before, hey, the bomb is going to fall. It's Hiroshima. The bomb is going to fall in 4 hours. You have that much time to evacuate the entire city to beyond the possible area of effect. Go. And now it's the warning system's fault that they didn't get everybody out on time. I hate to say, but sometimes there's just nobody to blame.
Yeah, Pit Danny says, Pit Danny says, I also have seen praise of the counselors. Yeah, yeah. Don't get me wrong, I read about that as well. Like we're talking like 19-year-old kids. You know what I mean? Doing everything they could to protect these little ones. All right, and yeah, there was a lot of stories of heroism there. So yeah, 100%.
Now I'm gonna close on this. Damn, I kind of want to say I don't have time for it. Okay, we're gonna do this real quick, and then I'm gonna wrap it up, and I gotta hit the road. Uh, this Sade Perkins. Have you heard about this, Mario?
No.
Okay, community organizer from Houston's Fourth Ward.
Yeah, I got a bad feeling.
Really gonna get canceled for this, but Camp Mystic is a.
She starts with, okay, I'm probably gonna get canceled for this. She starts with that.
No.
She
is she gonna say she? Oh God, is she gonna make it racial? Is she gonna be like glad the little white girls died?
Of course she is.
Fucking
and
monster.
she knows she's wrong. She starts off with she knows she's wrong for this. Now she's been fired from apparently several of these ridiculous jobs that the city's Pan-African community and all that shit. But here you go.
But Camp Mystic is a whites-only girls Christian camp. They don't even have a token Asian. They don't have a token black person.
But they got all the girls in rainbow clothes there, sweetheart. So what are you trying to tell me?
And it is a all white only conservative Christian camp. If you ain't white, you ain't right, you ain't getting in, you ain't going. Period. And I think that context needs to be said in this matter.
Wait, now hold up. What did I just see there? Okay.
X needs to be said in this matter. It's not to say that we don't want the girls to be found, whatever.
Needs to be, what the hell does that have to do with anything? What does it have to do with anything? Right? She's just mad. She's just happy that a bunch of white girls died.
I'd take a 2-pound mini sledge to her fucking face. If yeah, that's immediate hands-on violence. I don't tolerate shit like that. It's black people don't understand that not every part of the country isn't completely saturated with them. Okay, it might seem like it, but there are places like this is Kerrville, this is remote Texas. Okay, and it is a Christian camp. So remote Texas, Christian. Okay, that's automatically going to skew heavily white. All right. And if it is expensive, then it would be Hispanic as well. But if it is expensive, if it costs like, I don't know how much it costs to send your kids to camp there, but yeah, it's going to skew heavily white. Okay, what are they supposed to do? Go out? They're supposed to go out and like kidnap freaking brown kids and bring them there for optics? I mean, what are you saying, you stupid woman?
And that right there is one of the principal problems with DEI generally. You know what? The Army infantry tends to skew dramatically to the white. Tends to be primarily white. Other races are more heavily represented in other jobs because you do actually have some choice when you join the military, right? There are certain jobs that tend to be primarily white because they have, like, corn farmers. Right? Any job that requires manual labor, almost exclusively male. You take that job and you put it in the middle of the country, and it tends to be pretty primarily white. Is it because we don't hire black people to pick corn? No, it's because they don't fucking live there. It's because they don't live there.
A lot of black people who like think there would be intellectuals live in a paranoid, like you think that we skew heavily into conspiracy theory. Black conspiracy theories are on another level, man.
Dude,
okay?
That's worth a deep dive. We need to do a deep dive on the black conspiracy theories, like the one where white people are a genetic experiment that was conducted by this super genius genetic scientist in like 4000 BC.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. The Yaqub, basically, who fled Mecca, all right, went to the Isle of Patmos, where he created white people. He created white people through generations and generations of selective breeding. Okay, and then he granted the gift of dynamite to Moses. All right, like,
yeah.
Yaqub, forgive me, Yaqub, I have failed you.
You know what? We've already got next Saturday's special on Slate. So we'll do next Saturday. We'll do the feminism special next Saturday, and then let's do the We Was Kang's Conspiracy Collective the following Saturday.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be a fun one.
Herman Cain is selling Elvis hats. Maybe that should be the thumbnail for that episode.
Yep. It's time to
do have to go ahead and put a pen in it because I got to beat down the road. So thanks.
That'll be good. We've skewed heavily on the small hats recently. We need to return to tradition and just take shots at blacks again. We need.
Oh. Yep. All right, guys. Y'all be safe out there. We love you. We will see you tomorrow.
Ciao.
Sometimes it's like you don't even realize I'm sitting here waiting for you to say ciao so I can hit the button.
I did say ciao.
I know you did. Eventually.
Okay.